Hey everybody, Jamie Starr here. We are just waiting for Paul to call. Then we should be all set. So hopefully he will be chiming in any second. This should be a fun podcast considering what I want to talk about. This nonsense that's come my way. And then I'll probably, well, once you guys, all right, where is he? Here we go.
Hey.
Hey, Paul, what's going on?
Well, you're quite clear for a change.
Oh, well, what part of it might be is I updated settings in the recording program, so like I put a noise gate on my microphone and all sorts of stuff. So, and I think the mic is closer to my mouth than usual. But yeah, so I got this thing I want to talk about. Let me just start by first saying, Paul, I don't know if either of us knew this, but I don't think we can be friends anymore because you see, I voted for Trump. Well, not that, but because I voted for Trump and because I'm white and a male and I voted for Trump, I'm like a white nationalist. This is what I'm gathering. I was unaware of this. I had no clue. So, I mean, you're Jewish. I'm like a white nationalist. I don't know how this works anymore. My whole world has been turned upside down. Because you see what happened.
What are you on about? Trump's the biggest Jew in the house.
Well, but see, I don't know. I'm getting my information from people that don't exist in reality. See, what happened was, my mom has had this friend her whole life. I mean, this is the woman my sister is named after. So that's how long they've and how close they are. So I see her at my job semi-recently, and she goes to me and she says, Jamie, I'd like to talk to you about your politics. And I said, okay, sure. When's good for you? I do a weekly fucking podcast about politics. So I'm always down to talk about them. So it's on you. So she says, okay, but I work 2 jobs, she's busy, so we didn't really have time to get together and talk. So, mind you, she wants to talk about my politics. So I see her this week. She's supposed to have lunch at the restaurant I work at with my mom, and she gives me this book, which I can hold up and show everyone, Rising Out of Hatred. The Awakening of a Former White Nationalist. So, what are you supposed to think when someone wants to talk to you about your politics, and then the next time they see you, they're giving you a book about white nationalism and saying, why don't you read this and we can discuss it?
Did you write that book, Jamie?
Did I? No, it's a book by Eli Saslow. It was a Pulitzer Prize winner. Let me read you the back. Derek Black grew up at the epicenter of white nationalism. His father founded Stormfront, the largest racist community on the internet. His godfather, David Duke, was a KKK Grand Wizard. By the time Derek turned 19, he had become an elected politician with his own daily radio show, already regarded as the leading light of the burgeoning white nationalist movement. Then he went to college. Derek had been homeschooled by his parents, and he had rarely encountered diverse perspectives or direct outrage against his beliefs. At New College of Florida, he continued to broadcast his radio show in secret each morning, living a double life until his classmate uncovered his identity. Then ensuing uproar overtook one of the most liberal colleges in the country. Some students protested Derek's presence on campus. Other students, including an Orthodox Jew who invited Derek to attend weekly Shabbat dinners, found the courage to reach out to him. It was because of those dinners and the wide-ranging relationships formed at that table that Derek started to question the science, history, and prejudices behind his worldview. As a white nationalism infiltrated the political mainstream, Derek decided to confront the damage he had done. Rising Out of Hatred tells the story of how white supremacist ideas migrated from the far-right fringe to the White House through the intensely personal saga of one man who, at tremendous personal cost, disavowed everything he was taught to believe. Where do we want to start with that fucking spewing bullshit?
Did she actually say anything, or just give you a book?
She just gave me the book, but I mean, you should see the tirade I emailed her. It starts off with I thought you wanted to talk about my politics. I thought we were going to have an adult conversation about trade, national security, you know, foreign policy, meddling in other countries, like, you know, politics. And then I said, but what the fuck? Why are you trying to expose me to this fringe bullshit? Why should anyone give this shit any time of day? And then I make the case for it. Like, I'm like, you know, white nationalists killed 50 people total last year. That's one per state. That means it is your least likely way of dying. Like, and I even brought up liberal sources. I mean, I'm telling you, it's probably like a 10-page email I wrote her where I just ripped everything to shreds. Everything. So I'm probably going to do another video doing that, going through that letter, because I had friends of mine proofread it. Friends that are now right-leaning, that are more conservative-minded, that have very liberal parents, and who are like, I hear my parents talk about the wall and the border, and, you know, they don't even think about the economy or the fact that 25% of our prison population aren't even from this country, or, you know, and I tell them, I said, because it's all just, it's fashion to them. It's, oh, the wall's so racist. It's like, you know, you're wearing the new Louis Vuitton bag. It's just, it's for the moment. It's for fashion. It's for, you know, social praise and all that. But they're asking me, they're like, can you write a generalized version of this email for me to give my parents? Because it just completely eviscerates all the arguments. It's well-sourced, well-cited, and then it just demolishes the Democrats. And it's like, here's the thing is, when I first was given this book, I literally sent my mom the text, what the fuck is up with your friend, yo? Like, I just got gangster on my mom real quick and was like, what the fuck? Like, because I was extremely offended. Like, I grew up in Poughkeepsie. I spent years producing rap. I have a multiracial family. Like, what the fuck? Like, so then after wrestling with that for two days, I reread the back of the book, and I was like, you know what this is? This is my mom's friend has been radicalized. She is the one that is essentially the white nationalist, and I have to be the Orthodox Jew nicely going to her and being like, you know, I know you went to the Women's March. I knew on day one when my mom told me, I said, why did she go to a march that was organized by a bunch of anti-Semites? And no one on the left even mentioned it or addressed it for 2 years when everyone on the right wing knew on day one. Why are you all there talking about, oh, they let you do anything, grab them by the pussy? I said, if John Lennon, if fucking Elvis or Brad Pitt or anyone else said those exact statements, you guys would just say, yeah, those women are called groupies, and it'd be end of story. End of story. Like, it's...
How's black employment going under Trump?
Oh my god, it's phenomenal. Like, and that's one of the other points I made. Well, here's a point I made in the thing where even like you said, Trump's the #1 Jew. I said, New York Times was just in a controversy last week because they put out a cartoon of Netanyahu as a seeing eye dog and Trump blindly being led around by Netanyahu. I said, and meanwhile people are saying Trump is the next Hitler. I said, could you imagine a cartoon drawing of a blind Hitler being led around by a Jew seeing eye dog? No, not at all. Like, it's patently absurd. Now, one of the things, though, that I did get into and I did have to defend, because I asked my mom, I said, where is she getting this idea from? I said, now, I remember when I had my first Republican friend, and I was dumbfounded just being like, but I know they're not a racist. Like, how could they be a Republican? But that's when I realized, like, I need to look at my own biases. Like, I'm in the wrong, I'm prejudiced, I'm making assumptions, I should reevaluate this. But I like... with that stuff, like my mom said, she said, well, I don't know what would have given her that impression. I might have mentioned that you think straight white males are unfairly targeted and stuff. And I said they are. That's fact of the matter. That's not like an opinion. That's, I mean, what's the racist, sexist, transphobic, xenophobic, homophobic? I said, what's the term for when people are attacking Christians? Easter worshippers? Like, I mean, even when they're being attacked, they're continued to be marginalized. Like, it is, and then I brought up, in the email, I brought up the thing about the hoax papers that were all getting peer-reviewed, and they said right in it, all we needed to do to get these things to go through the peer review process is just write with an anti-straight, anti-white, anti-male bias, and it would just go right through. Like, it is so prevalent, and just so, you can't argue that. But people do. Now, the one thing I did say in my email that I think, is kind of playing dirty, but I said, I'm one to think the Steven Crowder thing, you shouldn't try to argue against something unless you can make the arguments for it. I said, and I also like dealing with things in abstracts. I said, that being the case, I find it very funny that a Jewish woman is giving me a book on white nationalism, considering the only race-based ethno-state in the world is Israel. So
yeah, Jews are the most supremacist group going.
Yeah, I said, so how would you be able to explain to me how we can have Israel, but white people wanting their equivalent is beyond the pale? Like, how do you square those two things away where it's rules for thee but not for me? Because, like you said, I don't hear white people going around. I mean, yeah, there might be a few saying, we should have our own country, we should self-segregate, but I don't hear them adding a whole bit about them being God's chosen people in the mix of it. Like, and it's just, I think they just don't realize. Like, I think it is such a blind spot to them, or they'll just say, oh, well, the Egyptians once with the pharaohs and history. But I was just dumbfounded, where I was like, who the fuck does this person think I am? I used to celebrate Hanukkah with them every year. Like, and out of nowhere you hear I vote Republican, and it's like, well, he must be a white supremacist.
Trump isn't a Republican, though.
No, he isn't, and that's the other funny thing about it. He's not. He just co-opted their party. Because they were
gone the other way if he had to.
Yeah. Oh yeah, if it was a situation where there was a stronger Republican candidate and just a bunch of morons on the Democrat side, he would have ran as a Democrat. I don't doubt that.
Why didn't you just say that in your email? Just say, why did you pick up this book? Like, who recommended it to you, and why do you think? What have I said that makes you think I'm a racist?
Yeah, well, I ended up buying her a copy of the Dinesh D'Souza book, The Big Lie, which is about, how, things like how Hitler was inspired by Planned Parenthood and things like that. And one of the things I said in my emails, I said, we know abortion, Planned Parenthood, and gun control were all policies used to oppress black people. So my question is how long does a racist policy have to be in place before it just becomes good for everyone? When does it lose that racism and then just become mainstream good for all? Because, some years more black babies are aborted than born, and the pro-life movement is the Republican movement, but yet you think we're a bunch of racists who want double the amount of black people running around? Like, none of it adds up when you actually get into it. So, my email is just like point after point after point, reference after reference after reference, just ripping through everything. Where I was just like, you've been radicalized, I'm now going to try to de-radicalize you.
What's the moral of the story then?
The moral of the story, I guess, I don't know, she hasn't written me back, but the moral of the story is fucking don't assume you know people's motives. I mean, that's the thing I hate the most, and I mean, that's even one of the things that Steven Crowder says, like, he hates the most, is it's the assuming the other side has evil intentions or something. Like, I mean, even half of these fucking people that are, like, communists and socialists, like, I think communism and socialism is evil, but I don't think these people rooting for it are evil. I think they're just ignorant. They're just concerned with what free shit they're gonna get out of it personally.
I'm sat next to a Satanist at work.
Are you?
Yeah, man, so funny.
I actually just got sent a thing. PK Pride Parade and Festival, June 9th. The 9th is a Saturday. What time? Parade is at 1 p.m. This is when I'm at work. Oh, man. I have people wanting me to...
I think I converted him in about 3 minutes. And I
Oh,
said,
the 9th is a Sunday. Hold on. Alright.
So the guy goes, oh, I'm a Satanist. And I went, oh, you mean Ants on the Face Satanic Bible? And he goes, yeah, how do you know about that? I don't know about that stuff. So I was going, so you're a Satanist, are you? And he's going, yeah. I was going, what do you think of Aleister Crowley? He's going, never heard of him. I said, what about the OTO? Never heard of him. Ever read any Manly P. Hall? Never heard of him. What about Bohemian Grove? Never heard of it.
What?
Skull and Bones? Never heard of it. So I was like, so you're an atheist? That puts on Christians. It's like, yeah.
That's so funny.
And he was going, but it's going like the Bible of Ant on the Face works. It's really good, and it works. And I was like, doesn't really work if you ask me, because and it's like
works for what?
I was like, so I said, do you believe in evolution? It's an example because a lot of it's based on the idea of evolution, survival of the fittest. And it's going, yeah, of course evolution's real, of course it is. I was going, well, you can fill me in because I can't think of one bloody example to fit in with evolution. Just give me one. It's going, there's millions of them. It's going, all right, well, what's the best example of evolution? He goes, millions of years ago, fossils.
Oh, man.
Don't explain an eyeball, does it?
No.
If evolution was real, you would have seen it somewhere.
Yeah.
There's so many species. Don't take that long. And then this other guy comes in and he goes, oh, I studied evolution at uni for 3 years. I was like, oh, thank God. All right, 3 years at uni, right? What's the best example of evolution? He went, some guy got 2 pigeons and like bred them and like they changed. I was like, no, that's not convincing. 3 years he studied that.
Yeah.
And they all laugh at me going, Paul believes in this, Paul believes in that. I was like, you failed to change my mind on evolution. You studied it for 3 years and you got nothing.
Yeah, that's crazy. I love...
And he was going, Darwin's my favourite scientist though. And I was like, wasn't he into incest? Like, didn't he fuck all of his...
Right? Yeah. I mean, I love...
I can't remember, but don't the Ku Klux Klan base a lot of their work on Darwinism?
Yeah. And that's, yeah, it's, well, I was just gonna say, like, I just think it's funny, like, you know, I've said it on the channel before whenever I've talked about evolution and stuff, and it's like, you can't just say, here's a pile of bones, and this is my fairy tale story about the life the bones had. Like, all the pile of bones or fossils prove is something was once alive and now it's dead.
It's not about that really anyway. It's about fighting the crusade that Christianity like puts on people. And I was like, I was like, that's why I don't like Satanists. He's going, why? I was going, look, you're entitled to your freedom of speech and all that. Hit Christians as hard as you want. But the day Satanists go after Islam, then I'll pay attention. And the reason they go for Christians is because they're nice.
Yeah.
Go after Islam, they're gonna blow you up.
Well, I'll tell you what, that even like after being
just making Christians look cool.
After being handed this book and like really looking at this shit and everything, like that was one of the things I was thinking, where I was like, this country is too fucking nice. I'll tell you what, I've never almost felt like as radicalized as being given that book. And I'm like, wow, maybe the alt-right does have some points. Maybe this shit is like that far out of hand that these people really just think, you know, they don't even fucking second guess it, that Israel is what white nationalists are asking for themselves. They're not even like looking at any of this shit, and it's that Christian like guilt complex, that original sin mentality that has it, where it's like, I mean, men are just being pushed over and everything like that. And now the funny thing is even as I'm like in the car with my mom being like, well, you know, we white people and men and straight people, they are just kind of like, people do just stick up their nose and be like, fuck them and this and that. And my mom's like, yeah, it's kind of like when I go to the board meetings and they're like, we're doing an outreach initiative to the faith groups, and all it is Black Baptist pastors, and there's like 5 or 6 big churches in the area that you forgot to invite because the congregations are all white. And I'm telling my mom, I'm like, yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about. It's not unintentional. It's a fuck you, and you're too nice to realize these people are saying, fuck you, fuck your kind, we don't give a shit. We run this, we took it over, it's ours now. We'll invite who we want to invite, and if there's no white people around, whatever. I mean, I even saw a thing on the Channel 11 news. I was watching some show, and it's like, on the 10 o'clock news tonight, black-only nightlife, the new thing in New York City. Black clubs where only black people are allowed. And they're talking about how great it is. And I'm like, oh, yeah, segregation, so progressive, no whites allowed. Like, you know, it's fucking insane. It's insane that it's gotten this far. And it's insane that even if you just object to this and are like, all this identity politics is bullshit. Like, that's my stance on it. It's all bullshit. Like, I don't, like, the term white is so arbitrary, and, like, I mean, like, I've asked you before, like, how do you have more in common with, like, you know, do Brits see themselves as Brits, or are Italians more different than Brits, or are you all just white together? And you're like, no, of course, the British are British, fuck the French, and fuck everyone else. Like, I mean, and at least Europe has that. America doesn't, and the problem is that Americans could be united as Americans, but that's why they do this whole African American, Latino American. They put something else in front of the American so that you never see yourself as just an American, because then people would unite. I mean, I was even telling my partner the other day, I was like, I wish there was a bomb that would go off in the center of this country. Like, you don't know how badly at this point, Paul. I wish America would go to war. Like, full-on 9/11 style. Because there was none of this identity politics shit happening after the towers fell. None of it. You had liberals wrapping themselves in the American flag because New York was attacked and saying, we're not going to take this, you know, we're all Americans together. And this divisiveness was non-existent.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, I'll tell you what, though.
It's sat next to a Satanist that isn't even a Satanist.
It does give me, because I mean, even
I'm more of a Satanist than what he is.
Right? It does.
Yeah, I was going, oh, you want to go down to Hollywood, Silicon Valley? It's going, why is that? It's going Hollywood. It's like the first thing a witch does. It's like, what do you mean? I was going, you get a holly branch and make a wand, Hollywood. It's like, my mind's fucking blown. It's like, that's where fantasy is, the Magic Kingdom. Yeah, come on, bro. It's like, oh, mind blown again. I was like, you don't know shit about Satan. You're not. You're getting an E minus.
Right. Yeah.
It's going, when you're gonna sacrifice? At the end of the day, you got to sacrifice, and the best sacrifice is an innocent young boy. When you're gonna do that? When you can grab yourself some of that adrenochrome. He's going, what's adrenochrome? Going, boy, oh boy, oh boy.
You know, it's funny. It actually reminds me. I had someone comment recently on my video older video about Styx Hexenhammer talking about Alex Jones's Joe Rogan appearance and how he's like, you know, do I think Alex Jones really thinks there's interdimensional demon elves and blah, blah, blah? No, he doesn't really think that, this, and that. And I'm like, you know, there's a video when I called... Yeah, and that was the thing, this is when I was like, is Styx a gatekeeper or is he just dumb? And I still have people...
I know what Alex Jones is really thinking.
And it's like, I still have people coming on the video and being like, well, you see, it was a 4-hour conversation, so Styx was just dismissing the one part of one sentence. And I'm like, oh, okay, so he's dismissing the one sentence that you can possibly make a case for, but he's not dismissing the 4-hour total, which you're using to just pluck a little tidbit out of. Like, get out of here with that nonsense. Like, as far as I'm concerned, Styx is on the same level as whoever you were talking to that doesn't have half a clue.
Styx has got something up there. It's not that bad.
He knows a little more, but I don't know. If he does, he doesn't. See, and that's one of the things. Is like, it's almost like, and I guess I'm at fault for this, because it's like, if there was someone with the amount of occult knowledge you would assume Styx Hexenhammer has, they would offer such a unique and in-depth perspective into politics, but he never brings in the occultism into his political, you know, videos, because according to him, John Podesta lacks the mental competence to be an occultist. Even though there's pictures of him with shit carved into his hands and, you know, all sorts of, like, pictures that basically imply he's doing rituals. But, you know, he doesn't have the mental competency of a Styx Hexenhammer. He's just fucking running the country in Hillary Clinton's campaign. Like, ridiculous.
The other thing that's been going on, so I'm working now for a bank, right?
Uh-huh.
So I don't want to get into too much detail, but we were told that we could just wear casual clothes and that. So every single guy in there wearing a suit, they just wear Superman t-shirt, Batman t-shirt. One guy's got Batman t-shirt every day, and he's got like a Joker tattoo on his lower arm. He's just got a smiley face, just the smile on his lower arm. He's got another Batman logo on his smile. And it goes back to this thing of like, can guys just dress their fucking age?
Yeah. Well, it's
like we're in a bank and it's like, I got my Superman t-shirt.
It's arrested.
Superman.
It's arrested development.
I got my Iron Man t-shirt. Iron Man's so cool. And all they talk about is computer games, and it's like, dude, how old are you guys? It's like,
yeah,
I'm up to 30. It's like, whoa, fuck.
Well, see, and that's the thing, like, I don't know if you caught them. I don't know if I doubled them on this channel or not. On my personal...
They're talking about Mortal Kombat non-stop, about all the moves and all the special moves, and you're good, and only going to bring this character back, and this character. I'm like, guys.
On my personal channel, I did 2 videos in one sitting, and I did it about a review of Marvel's Endgame, and my review of it was just basically like, it was a 3-hour movie that was just like pointing back at everything they already did. Like, it was nothing new.
Look, I was expecting to go to work wearing a suit for starting a bank.
Yeah.
Then casual, okay.
Or at least a button-up or a polo.
Fucking line, it's Superman t-shirt.
Yeah.
Iron Man t-shirt.
Well, because that's the thing.
Women think like some of the really hot women in there. I think they just smile at me and stuff because I just wear a shirt, jumper, and jeans and the shoes.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say I don't even know what I would think if I walked into a bank and I was like, oh, let me open an account and take out a loan from this kid in a Superman shirt.
It's like head office. So.
Oh. But see, the thing is even like when my review of the Sonic movie, because well, not the movie, but the trailer, and it was more me talking about the backlash that came of it, and it was like, you know, the whole thing looks like a bad idea, but everyone's like hypercritical of what the CGI Sonic looks like, and it's like, all I'm saying is like, this movie is not made for adults. Like, all you fucking 30-year-olds that are like, Sonic's hands aren't big enough. His legs aren't skinny. It's like, shut up. This isn't for you. This is for kids who have probably never played half of the Sonic games. Like, just stop. But then, of course, you have even worse, the director being like, oh, well, we'll redo it. And it's like, oh, because a bunch of man babies, like, claim they're not going to the movie that, like, come on. They would have gone anyway. These people are ungrateful, first off, and they're fucking Arrested Development. Like, it is like, I enjoy, you know, as far as, like, if I'm at work, I'm just going to put something on. Like, I'll put on comic book TV shows like the Netflix ones and things like that. Like, I enjoy the characters. I read them as kids. All of that's fine. But I have no problem drawing the line and being like, this shit's getting played out. I'm getting tired of it. There isn't any character development. I don't feel invested in these people. You're riding the wave off of the previous decade of movies you've done. Like, it's falling to shit. Like, the whole hype of all of it is it's just hype off of the hype it already had. They're not doing anything good or interesting or even making
Why would a
good.
30-year-old man have 3 or 4 Batman tattoos on his lower arm and a Batman phone case and a Batman t-shirt?
Yeah.
Like, how? And he's married as well. It's like, how?
Yeah. I don't know. That's a bit too much.
Tattoos. Fucking hell. I
Yeah.
just don't get it anymore. There's loads of guys like that. There's this fat Chinese guy that's in there. He's 25. It's like, you used to live home with your parents? It's like, yeah. It's like, dude, why? Can't move out, bro. Get your stinky winky out. 25. And you're playing computer games every night in your mum's basement. Yeah.
Well, the thing is like, even
Your
like
dinosaur t-shirt.
like I just don't understand like the people that have like never moved out. Like, it's one thing, like, I feel like in my situation where it's like, I've moved out, I lived in a handful of different apartments, now I'm back home, and I'm like, okay, I could do that apartment thing and never really save up money and stuff like that. Or it's like, I could stay here for a bit, help my mom manage the house, because it's hard as hell for a single woman to upkeep a household. And it's like, I mean, my mom couldn't even shovel the snow, like, at her age and stuff. So it's like, on some level...
It'd just be nice to have some men in the group, act like a real bloke.
Yeah. Well, and it's like that's almost like why I'm around the house, is like to do all the man shit. Like, oh, the toilet's not working. Jamie, go fix it. Oh, there's, a hole that needs to be dug in the backyard. The concrete on the house needs to be patched. Jamie, go do that. Like, I mean, it's like, I'm basically like a Mexican at my home, just doing all these little odd labor jobs all the time. And it's like, I don't mind it because I get along well with my mom, but it's like, it benefits me to be able to save money so that when I leave, I can have a substantial amount to be on and everything. But it's like, when it's people that are just living at home and not helpful around the household, like, I guarantee you half these people wouldn't know how to fix a toilet or any sort of plumbing shit like I know, or any of that stuff. Like, I mean...
Yeah, there's this hot Polish chick there, and she's pretty hot. And her body language towards me is pretty, like, good. Like, well into me.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, it's,
I think it's not because I'm hot, it's because I'm literally the only
that's
guy who's there.
that's kind of what I was going to get at, is like, it's sometimes, no offense to you, but it's not even what you have to do. It has to be with like the pick out of the crowd, and it's like, oh, if everyone else is a bum, like someone who's,
Yeah, and she was like, we're having a cigarette. I only spoke to her once, and she was like, oh, what do people think of the Polish community in Southampton? And I was like, oh, I left the pals. Oh, the pals say greatly offer so much. And she looked at me, and I went, it's not really working out, is it? Like, and she was like, oh, what do you mean? I was like, well, in England, you just get like monocultures. You get the Indian culture, you get the Chinese culture, you get the African culture, you get the Estonian culture, you get the Polish community, you get the Romanian community. None of them really, they're just their own little group. And a lot of them now, because they're in their own little group, they're not even bothering to learn English, and it's a fucking nightmare. Because when you're in the community, everyone's speaking a different language. There's no community anymore.
Yeah.
We're going to collapse. And if you go back to Poland, it's nothing like England. So you can't get proper food in England. In Poland, imagine if you have dinner, a lot of that's coming out your garden. So you love that, just going, oh yeah, you're right. The food in Poland's great. I was like, you Polacks have got it wrong.
Oh my God.
You're better off going back.
Let me tell you, I went to New Jersey once to eat at a Polish restaurant.
Poland's like booming.
Oh my God.
Booming.
There's
Poland's got it going on.
There's this Polish
Bulgarians
restaurant in New Jersey, and I had no idea how delicious Polish food was. I wish there was a Polish restaurant around here, because I would be eating there every week. I mean,
and I just said that we've lost the Christian community. Like, we do need that. It's not the religious aspect, but the Christian culture is our culture. It's all built on that, and we're just going to tear it away with nothing to replace it with, and just go, oh yeah, I'm a Christian. I love Christian culture.
Well, and you know what's funny? Now I didn't.
That's what I mean. You're supposed to like suck up to women and go, oh yeah, I love where you come from. I love your culture. And I was like, yeah, it's not working out great, is it? Ugh. And she was like, yeah, it's really embarrassing, actually. You're right.
Well, and you know what's interesting?
I came here to embrace British culture. I came here to learn the language. And like, I'm British now. And I was like, that's it. It's like, you can come here, but you've got to embrace being British. You can't embrace being Polish.
In Britain, yeah. That actually reminds me, when I was writing my email to this person about the book, I was going to bring up, but I felt like it would just be too much to get into and explain. But I was reading articles about how, and it was like an article on like Israel Today or whatever, and it was like, it's disingenuous to compare gun rights and gun laws in America to Israel. And it's like, Israel and America are both heavily armed, you know, countries and this and that, but that's about where the similarity stops. And it says, you know, Israel is okay having all their guns because the people there get along and they trust each other and this and that. And it's like, I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, yes, because you are a monoculture, because you're all operating under the same framework. Yes, you do all trust each other, but when it's like, when you have what you're describing, where it's like, oh, here's the area of Italians, down there's where the Mexicans live, here are the housing projects filled with the blacks, and all the white people are running out to the suburbs, no one even speaks the same language half the time, and everyone's just got guns pointed at each other because no one gets along, and everyone has different framework of morals they're operating under. Yeah, it's this diversity shit creates conflict. And then I was reading Vox Day's book this morning, and it's talking about how it's known that like diversity and close proximity equals war. And it's like, yeah, well, Palestine and Israel right there, like two completely conflicting cultures that are right next to each other, and they can't seem to get along or come to any sort of agreement.
Yeah, well, I finished off saying, I'm better off going to Poland because A, there's more chance of me owning a property there. I've got no chance here, like none. The divorce rate is nowhere near what it is in the UK. I imagine that the crime rate is massively lower. I imagine that the suicide rate is massively lower. I imagine the rate of people on antidepressants is massively lower. I imagine that you're eating proper food and not just poisoning yourself to death. So, still pretty much in the Christian community, like they're pretty Catholic out there. So, and my sexual market value would skyrocket in Poland if I come from England to Poland. And I've already got a house, got more money.
Yeah.
And I think her pussy just went wet, basically. And that's how you...
Probably, because it's probably a surprise to her that a guy is even thinking about things in that perspective. Most of those other guys are probably just like, well, you know,
Batman!
if the right person shows up, I'll make her my Catwoman and I'll be Batman. Yeah, nonsense.
I'm like, we're getting the fuck out of Dodge, babe.
Yeah. Now, you know what's interesting? I want to bring this up to you. When I opened up my browser, the news thing that's always on the front and just shows different articles, it had this kind of, I didn't know if it was a real article or a kind of clickbaity thing. It was kind of a clickbaity thing, but it was like the 14 countries that America advises you not to go to, right? Because I guess we have a list and we rank them. Well, every single country that was like a number 4, that was like a do not go here. There is violence, kidnapping, yeah, so on and so forth. No, it was actually all of the countries that your migrant crisis is coming from. Sudan, Somalia, just like parts of Africa, Syria, Libya, Afghanistan, Iran. The only ones that were even on this side of the globe were like Haiti and Venezuela. But everywhere else, all I could think of was the Lauren Southern video of her going through the Calais jungle or whatever, being like, where are you from? And they're like, Sudan, where are you from? Just naming off parts of Africa. And it's like, fuck. Your whole migrant crisis is all people from these areas that they're like, do not go to. It is not safe. And it's like, no wonder why. France isn't safe now, and neither are any of these other places. Like, anyone with any common sense should have been like, this is a bad idea. And it's just really, after writing that email, it's like, I'm really like, I understand completely why Kanye West was up there being like, it's a simulation. You have to break out of the simulation because these people are just.
You guys are still in that fucking simulation of Trump because you should know it just from the JFK files. I mean, he said he was going to release them. They're all redacted. They're not all released. So if you can't even solve a murder of a president from 50 years ago.
But some of that.
What fucking chance?
Some of that.
You fucking got Jamie Scott. Answer the freaking question. What freaking hope you got, man?
Well, see, the thing with that though is like, there's like. You can't release things when people are still alive. So I guarantee you a lot of that redacted stuff is concerning people that are still alive. Like that's
There's a giant nothing burger.
But I'm saying I don't think that falls directly on Trump because again there's legalities with all of it. It's like the whole thing the Democrats are pulling now with Barr where they're he released the Mueller report. Parts of it that are concerning ongoing investigations are still redacted, and the Democrats are trying to hold him in contempt for not breaking the law. And it's like,
you always had a one-party system, and now you've got a one-party system more than ever.
I don't know how you could say it's a one-party system.
Well, who's running up against Trump?
On the other side of the aisle? There's like 30
Anyone.
People right now. Kamala Harris, Cory Booker, Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren. Like, the Democrat primaries are, like, ridiculously overfilled.
So Trump's just going to walk it.
Oh, as far as the election, I'm pretty sure he's going to demolish whoever they put up.
It's a one-party system, isn't it?
But it's not like they aren't trying. It's what are they selling, though? And that's again where the simulation part of it is. Where even like I said in my email, I said white supremacy, total hate crimes in general. I said by every group, not just white supremacists, are 7,000 and you have 50 deaths. I said, hold on, but I'm making a larger point. Illegal immigration commits over 1 million crimes a year.
Under Trump than ever.
I am aware of that. But they have been flooding in. The numbers are just going up more and more because what's being done to stop it? Well, part of it's because we have these Democrats saying we're not going to obey the law, sanctuary cities, whatever. I did just see, though, that Trump just got $1 billion out of some fund. I mean, the wall's being built. It's slowly but surely. They're pulling money from other sources. Like, there's just $1 billion pulled from somewhere for a certain part of it. Parts of California now have 2 walls. But, I mean, you're, again, talking about a wide area of desert that is just left open.
Lock her up! Lock her up! She ain't locked up.
Well, I don't even know what to who to pin that on. I guess you'd got to look at whoever the DOJ is and all that. But again, part of the thing part of that was hinted at during the when he was testifying, because he was like, there was spying, we're going to be looking into the FISA warrants and this and that. Here's the thing I really look at, though, is like, how long have the Clintons been part of the Washington establishment?
Since about the 80s.
Since about the 80s. So if someone's been running it since about the 80s, you think Trump can just show up and slap cuffs on her?
Well, he said he was going to put America first and fix the foreign policy, and now it's knee deep in Israel all the time.
Well, see, and that one I'll give you, where I will agree. I think Israel has way too much influence on him and the campaign and everything like that. Some of the other stuff, I think there are layers to it that it's like, you can't just be like, well, Trump hasn't locked up Hillary, and it's like, well, that's not in his job description in the first place. Like, granted, he is the one that's supposed to appoint a Department of Justice that should be looking into that, but as it's been going, all the intelligence agencies have been gunning for him since before he even got in office. Like, and part of the simulation thing is like the gaslighting, where it's like the New York Times will publish on the front page.
Standard script. A United States president will always do 2 terms, and yes, they pull plug on the economy, which
Yeah,
we're going to do now.
I heard Kellyanne Conway say that Trump held a rally in El Paso, Texas, and they did polling, and 90% of the crowd was Democrats. So, I mean, here's the thing I will say. I am worried because the Democrats are digging themselves such a deep hole that we will end up with a one-party system.
Yeah, same as what we're doing in the UK. They're digging themselves such a hole of Brexit that we're going to end up with a one-party system.
Because, I mean, even in my email I said, I watched the Democrats' town hall, I said, and they're discussing allowing illegal immigrants voting, giving felons the right to vote, and expanding the voting age to 16. I said, when your party is debating expanding their voter base into those 3 areas, you should ask yourself, why, and what do they have to sell those people, and why are they no longer interested in the American middle class? Why has the American middle class now been labeled as the uneducated voters? Because that's one of the other things that drives me crazy. Democrats used to care about the middle class, and now their code word for middle class is uneducated. So it's like the plumbers, the electricians, the carpenters, the construction workers, all the people that are doing the infrastructure work that really makes this country run and function. They're just seen as the uneducated, unwashed masses, and they've just completely been forgotten about. Like, the Democrat Party has become far too elitist, and that's why they have to keep this whole divide and conquer ball rolling. And they're just going to end up destroying themselves, and then we will have a one-party system, and it will get dangerous. Not in a white supremacy type way, but if you end up with another Bush figure taking over, you could end up having all your liberties, spying and all that stuff. I mean, there are a lot of those things that still came out of 9/11 and the Patriot Act and all that. I'd like someone to talk about rolling that shit back.
Yeah, we got Trump. Seems to like his 5G as well.
That's another concern.
I just think it's being pulled in a new direction now. They've learned their lessons about how to manipulate the media. The media ain't that stupid to keep making all these mistakes. They're not mistakes. They're just swaying the public feedback loops.
Well, that I agree with. That I definitely agree with. I mean, but some of it, even though, like, I was watching with a friend of mine the Trump press conference after Charlottesville, and my friend was like, why have I never seen this? And I was like, well, the better question is, why would you have? I said, because it literally sounds like Trump arguing reality against a bunch of sycophants and psychopaths, where they're just like, are you putting Antifa and the white supremacists on the same moral level? And he's like, I'm not doing either. I'm saying there were people there protesting to keep the statue. There were people protesting to take it down. Then there were also white supremacists. Then there was also Antifa. Then there, like, and he's like explaining it bit by bit and being like, and that's what I'm talking about. And they're going like, so are you saying that the white supremacists are the exact same as Antifa and they're both on the same level? He's like, no. What I'm saying, and he just keeps going through it as they're like, just give us the one sentence we need. Like,
I don't know your cabinet too well, but imagine he's still just full brim of neocons, all friends of Trump. So
that
the same people running.
That I'm not 100% sure on, as far as some of that stuff goes. But I mean, even it's like
Venezuela's not looking good on Trump's watch either.
Yeah, but I see my whole thing is
that cannot go down without American backing. We all know it.
Well, I was just gonna say my whole thing is like I understand. Even I was watching a thing today where it's like it was that guy Dan Crenshaw on The View, and they were talking about immigration, and they were like, well, Trump is threatening to take away the aid from these countries, and isn't that just going to make things worse? And Crenshaw, to his credit, was like, well, we've been giving them millions of dollars and it's not helping. So he's just using it as a bargaining and negotiating tactic so that they will try to do their part to stop this all. But it's like, call me cold, but I think, there's too much foreign aid to everywhere. And I think a lot of it is we just shouldn't concern ourselves. Build our border and let Venezuela do what Venezuela's going to do. And just turn our backs to it. Like, it's shitty to have to say, but sometimes, I mean, it's not like these people don't pick their own leaders in some of these countries, and then, whatever. Like, see, part of it is it's like messes that have just been going on for so long. Like, so long, as far as, like, the Iran-Contra things, the gun runnings from South America, cocaine coming up, and everything else, where it's like, what do? Half of it you probably aren't even aware of how deep these rabbit holes actually go and how entrenched our CIA is in every corner of the world. And it's like, I don't know. Where it's almost just like, if he can just get the economy going and the wall built and try to get a handle on immigration, that's enough for me. Like, I don't think in 4 years he can fix 60 years of Americans' chaos around the world, but, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah, but all the people that were anti-government, small government, are now big pro-government, pro-Trump, MAGA wearing hats. So they've just switched the sides around.
See, but that even, I don't like the idea of, like, conflating, because I feel like when you say that, it sort of conflates patriotism, nationalism, and like, I mean, I
think it does though. That's what they're playing on.
I think to some people, I think to some
play on something that's not there.
I think to some people it might, but I mean, I would be pro-government to a government that's deregulating things. Like, if a government came out and said, we want to cut back environmental regulations, we want to cut back on the EPA, the FDA, the Department of Education and all this stuff, if we want to cut all these things back and give it to the free market, I would be pro-government for a government doing those things. I mean, it's like, you can't say it's like, I mean, if a government is doing wrong, then by all means, be anti-government. But if a government is doing the right things, I don't think you should still then be against the government. Because that just basically takes the stance that the only thing that's, like, good, virtuous is to be against the government, even when they're working for your benefit? Like, I mean, would it be...
Yeah, I would have thought so, yeah, because it's going to be at the detriment to somebody else.
How? Why? That's like an SJW way of looking at things. Like, they always think, you can't get rich without making someone else poor.
The only way I'm going to be, like, happy with it, I'm probably going to be getting something free. We all know it's not free. I think government should just be obviously as small as possible. Just control the border, basic police.
Yeah, that's what I think. Government should just be concerned with the border and national security, and that's about it. I mean, I would love it if the IRS and a lot of the tax system was abolished. But I mean, that's the thing too. Trump simplified the tax code and reduced that shit, and you know, there's a lot of anti-government stuff he's done that just doesn't get reported on and he doesn't get credit for and things like that. I mean, the left freaks out about it because they think he's, you know, opening the floodgates for the environment to fall apart and, you know, allowing, you know, everyone even said, oh, well, after the Trump tax cuts, you know, you didn't get back as much as you thought. But it's like, yeah, because they weren't taking as much as they used to throughout the years, so they can't give you back what they didn't take. So I mean, I am for all of those things, but it's like if he's going to, you know, start off his second term with launching us into a war with anywhere, I'll be right there with you opposing it. I don't think we should be meddling in any countries whatsoever, unless we're explicitly asked, basically. And even then, I think it has to be a judgment call, and I would think we have to get something out of it.
I think you should pay attention to that book you were given.
Why is that?
Just pulling your leg.
I mean, I will probably read it. I think it would be interesting just to read it, just to comment on it for videos and stuff. Just because I'm sure it's ridiculous. Because here's the thing I don't get, is that it says right here in the tagline at the end, Rising Out of Hatred tells the story of how white supremacist ideas migrated from the far-right fringe to the White House. What now? I can understand your reasonings for a lot of the cases you make against Trump. I can't understand anyone saying nationalism has gone into the White House. How? I mean, even the thing like this past week, he gives like a medal to Tiger Woods. Him and Tiger have been friends forever. They're golf buddies and stuff like that. And the media goes, how could Tiger Woods accept this award? He should have stood up against this racist and this, and that. And it's like, why does the fact that Trump has chosen Tiger Woods for this award, why does that not debunk the idea that he is a racist to you? Like, why wouldn't you just be like, oh, a racist wouldn't choose a black Asian man for this award? They would have obviously chose a fellow white man if they were a white supremacist. Like, but these people just, it's so insane how, like, whatever these people see, they will rework it into fitting their narrative.
It's not insane, it's forcing people to defend Trump.
I don't know.
No one's that stupid.
Who is it forcing to defend him, though? Because at this point, I honestly think half the people are just disengaged.
That's the same thing, yeah. If you're getting disengaged, that's the same thing, because then you can just push through what you want. It's again that one party idea.
Well, no, I mean at this,
demoralize people to the maximum.
I mean at this point, disengaged as far as like the right wing doesn't even feel the need to comment on it. Like they've called, like it's like the boy who cried wolf. Like you've called him a white supremacist.
Right, yeah, there's only so much you can juice, ripping into the left and how stupid their ideas are. There's only so much juice in that lemon.
Well, and at some point they don't even have ideas at this rate. I mean, that's one of the things I've really realized is, as far as like ideas and leadership and all that, they're kind of bankrupt. They don't really have anything that is substantial. Like it's all just this like divisive, this person put up a hand sign and get them shut down this group, it's like when actually, like, I mean, one of the things that I think is so interesting is how, and I guess, again, this might play into your idea of a single party, but any good concept that the Democrats used to be for, like breaking up monopolies, keeping corporations in check, the border, I mean, Bernie Sanders used to say open borders was a right-wing Koch brothers conspiracy for cheap labor. All of the democratic ideas that used to have any sort of value are now Republican positions. And the Democrats are just concerned with thought crimes. So it's like, it almost like to some extent works, where you now only have this party that has taken over only the good ideas. Any of the bad ones they used to have, they've sort of have just dropped. And it's like a, it's, if there was a government to come forth and be like, all right, we're going back to constitutional whatever, like Trump continually tries to put abortion back to the states, and all these fucking circuit court judges and shit try blocking it. Like, it's, like I said, I'm for the government letting go of its power. That's the kind of pro-government stance I will have, is a government that's not concerned with amassing more and more power. But it's really at the point where you have one party that's concerned with real issues, and the other party is just concerned with social engineering. Because part of it is like the whole idea of socialism. Like, socialism only appeals to desperate people. People who feel like they can't accomplish these things for themselves. Like, I mean, I thought the idea of universal healthcare sounded good when I was like 18 years old, but that's because I was under my mom's healthcare that whole time. So it really would have just been no different. It would have been me going from mommy's healthcare to daddy government's healthcare.
Yeah, we'll have to see. All of this because a Jewish woman gave you a book.
Right?
I don't know.
I don't know. I just think it's funny because I am, least likely person to be a white supremacist.
You're both as bad as each other, if you ask me.
I don't know. I don't see how I am.
You should just ask her, what does she mean? Fuck the book.
Well, I know what she's gonna say, that Trump's a white supremacist. He's a white nationalist somehow.
Yeah, well then ask how, like, what are your top 5?
I mean, that's what I said. The book says right in it that somehow white nationalist politics are in the White House. And I don't know what policies or
Which
anything
ones?
like that. Yeah, which ones? That's why I want to read the book. Which ones? That's the part I'm interested of. Because the funny...
It's got nothing to do with it, though.
Because the funny thing is again, I would honestly think, because of the history of the parties, that if there was any policy that they are going to say, this is a white nationalist policy, it would be one of the policies that migrated from the Democrat Party over to the Republicans. Like, they're going to say the border control stuff is white nationalism. And it's like, okay, so China having their borders, is that Chinese supremacy? Like, I guarantee you, it's part of it's, you got to look at things like this. Like, it is a book. It's not a article. But even at that, it's like, who do you think the demo, as far as for people to buy this book, was for? Like, I mean, am I supposed to find it ironic that it's a book about a white nationalist who's, the compassion and outreach from a Jewish person helped de-radicalize them? Like, all I could think is, I'm like, is this what my mom's friend thinks she's gonna do for me? Like, this is ridiculous. Like, she's the radicalized one. And I'm just like, yeah, we should have a border.
Well, now you've fallen right into the trap of what was set, which is discussed in the book, which has no relevance to anything.
Well,
See,
well,
that's
you
want to discuss the book. Discuss the book.
That's what my email to her said, is like, it not only is like, I had said this book has no relevance to me whatsoever, and then I made the case that white supremacy should have no relevance to anyone whatsoever.
Now the book's yeah, that's where you went wrong.
Well, I mean, I'm interested in hearing her reasons why, but Yeah, no one
Yeah.
cares about this shit. That was the point I made. No one cares about any of this white nationalist nonsense. I said the only people that do are liberals looking for these outliers to try to smear everyone else by saying, one of the lines I said exactly in the book is, or in my email, is I said, now, I'm sure there's a white supremacist somewhere that drinks Coca-Cola. So if you're going to go around and say that everyone that likes Coca-Cola is a white nationalist because there's a white nationalist that drinks Coca-Cola, I don't have time for that game. Like, plain and simple. Like, and one of the best things I ever found was this article that was written by someone who doesn't like Trump. They're a Democrat, and it's this lengthy article that's "Why Are You Still Crying Wolf?" And it basically goes through and like debunks all of the premises that he's a racist. Where they're like, you know, in terms of David Duke, like one of the things they brought up is they were like, Trump has unambiguously denounced David Duke and white supremacy for 20 years. Then there was one time where he was asked about him, and he said, I don't know who you're talking about, I'll have to look into it, and then said his earpiece wasn't working right. And then they said, so you basically have to ignore 20 years of consistent statements and latch on to this halfway, I don't even know who that is, I'll look into it remark in order to try to make this whole case. And then the even funnier point they then bring it to is the dog whistles idea. And that's where I see the simulation being created, because I was existing in that at one point in time. When you have people telling you abortion isn't about babies, it's about women's rights, and welfare isn't about, you know, government dependency, it's about making black people suffer, and you know, immigration isn't about immigration, it's about hating Hispanics. And you know, when you have these news pundits that are redefining and twisting everything so that when you actually hear a Republican talk, you're not hearing them, you're hearing this redefined dog whistle lingo, like, you're no longer dealing with what's actually being said. You're dealing with this decoded cipher that you've had ingrained into you so that everything has to do with something else. And it's like, this article refutes the whole premise perfectly, where it says, you know, white supremacist is probably the most taboo worldview. They have, you know, 5-digit membership rates where it might be like 1,000 people or something, and they were like, and this dog whistle concept is that the most skilled speakers and rhetoric, you know, masters are carefully crafting words to send secret coded messages to a group that has absolutely no power, and that it could ruin your whole future if you were ever found out to be a part of this. And meanwhile, every news pundit is instantly going to pick up on these coded messages, and it's like, it's just like, it's all ridiculous. The whole dog whistle concept is insane. But that's how they get these people in this mind fuck. Where they can be like, oh yeah, 3rd trimester abortion, you know, women want what they want, kill the baby after it's born. Like, one of the funniest things I saw was Alyssa Milano tweet out, right-wingers are trying to make us look like people that want to take your guns and murder babies and censor your ability to speak and this, and that, and we have to change it. And all you saw is the comments underneath just being like, but that's what you want. That's exactly what you want. Like, and it was just like, you don't, like, it's mind blowing. Like, you don't even know what's wrong with these people. Like, Michelle Obama's another one where she'll come out and be like, I was never proud of this country. And then everyone's like, oh, Michelle Obama hates America. And she'll be like, I don't know where everyone's getting the idea I hate America from. I love America. It's wonderful. And it's like, you're trying to make people go insane. The whole gaslighting thing.
Yeah. Well,
My other big gripe is I want lawyers out of politics. That's my big thing. I think lawyers should be out completely. 'Cause even I was watching a clip with them talking about the spies being put into Trump's campaign. They're talking to James Comey, and James Comey is like, we didn't put in a spy into his campaign. What we did was we intelligence gathered through a secret operative, and the secret operative was just gathering intelligence like a normal investigation. Up. Have we lost Paul? Oh. Says I got bars. Oh shit, I didn't realize we had a bunch of people in the chat. Let's see. Sucks. Sounds good. What was the book? Hold on, let me just open back up the thing here in case Paul wants to call back. Should I call his ass back? Let's see. Zuck, it's Rising Out of Hatred. I assume you guys have all left, but you'll see this later. This is what you get, Goy, for so much as daring to defend whites from the constant anti-white slander and hatred against you. You'll get smeared as hateful Nazi. These Jews and their lackeys will never. Nationalism for every race. National socialism for every race. I'm not so big on the whole socialism thing. I think, you know, let me put it like this. There's a reason why communes don't pan out well. I've always thought under a free market, you could have pockets of socialism and stuff like that. But under a big socialist system, you couldn't have pockets of capitalism. So I'd rather have a capitalist system. Hold on. Why can't I call you back? I'd rather have the capitalist system with people trying socialist experiments underneath. Like, if they wanted to take California and turn it into a socialist state, go for it. And let's see how it goes. Let's honestly see how it goes. I think America's too big to try any of that socialist stuff. And there's just too much open area and open space, and it just won't work out well. Styx doesn't believe in God, angels, or the devil, but he believes in demons and magic, okay? Is that supposed to be sarcastic? Like, how do you believe in it? Like, how do you, like, you know, there's a reason why the terms angels and demons are constantly put together. The one is just the inversion of the other. So, for someone to be like, I believe in, and magic is a very, you know, magic has more to do with an individual and their will. Some of it does concern interacting with angels and demons and things like that. Endless distrust and paranoia about racism. Paul, we want to hear the stats. Let him talk. Yeah, Zuck. I'm gonna do a video on just that whole email. And really get into it. Because boats that destroyed the countries, these people came from endless distrust and paranoia about racism, etc. So yeah. Anyway, I think me and Paul were about running out of steam anyway, so I'm gonna just wrap this up on my own. And everyone like and follow the channel. And like I said, I'm going to go through that email. I've also been asked to rewrite it as a generalized thing for people to show leftists to try to help break them out of that whole social justice conditioning and stuff, and just end the identity politics and all of that, and things would be so much better. Like, I really miss it when people were actually like, wouldn't it be nice if some of these debates weren't all or nothing? Like, wouldn't it be nice if the right and the left were debating, let's say, how many immigrants we can take, how many we can absorb and bring into the country at a correct rate, and, you know, actually using, like, science and things to justify that. But instead, we're at this point where it's like, we're basically arguing for the immigration system where we were getting too many as it was from all these places where they have nothing to offer except, you know, competing against the uneducated or the working class, and or just open borders of complete free-for-all. Like, it's, you really just wish that it was like, oh, well, you know, we could take 1 million a year. No, maybe 2. Well, I don't know. But how about 1.5? Like, remember when it was give and take and there was compromise and stuff? That's all I want back. But you can't have that anymore. So, anyway, I'm just going to wrap this up. I can't even tell. It says streams offline, and here it says I'm live. Who knows what's going on? So, I'm going to stop it here and just upload the video. So, have a good one. Subscribe, like, share, and all.